Hello, I'm Julie Bieland, and I am a psychotherapist that specializes in the highly sensitive person. That's a trait that's also called sensory processing sensitivity. It's not a disorder, it is a trait, just like eye color is a trait. And you're probably watching this video so that you could learn a little bit more about the research that we're seeing. What's really exciting is that there is a lot of new research coming out about this trait, and you can go to Elaine Aron's website to find a lot of the updated research, and I can provide links to that on my website as well. She's really been the pioneer of researching this trait, and we have so much gratitude for her and in her work. So they absolutely know that this trait exists. They're actually seeing it already in 100 species, and it's considered a survival tactic, a survival strategy. So we make up about 20% of the population, and that means that 80% of the population is what we call non-HSPs. So highly sensitive person, we call that HSP for short. So I will refer to us as HSPs, and then the other 80% that are not, I call them non-HSPs. So some of what we're seeing in the research is that we have an overly activated amygdala. That is part of that fight, flight, freeze system. And from my research and experience working with HSPs over the years through psychotherapy, through my online courses, and also my global coaching, life HSP coaching, I have seen that from all over the world we experience things very similarly, and there's reasons for that. For example, we haven't really been taught about the differences, and we do have differences in our HSP brains. For example, that overly activated amygdala. That means that we often the brain experiences something that is perceived as danger, and that honestly has a lot to do with being overwhelmed and overstimulated in general, and that can set up the brain to experience that fight flight system quite often. Most HSPs I've worked with before they start the work of learning about themselves and learning these techniques that I've developed for HSPs is that we often have our limbic system, this amygdala activation almost every day. Well, oftentimes, several times a day for many people. If you notice that you get really highly anxious or stressed and your heart rate goes up, for example, you've activated that. Your brain has sent a signal to release adrenaline as soon as you see you're feeling your heart rate go up, for example. Now that sets us up to be sort of trapped in emotional brain. I kind of consider, in a simplified version, that we have sort of these two parts of our brain. We have the emotional brain and the cognitive brain. In the emotional brain, if we're trapped in there, we can't find facts or memory or cognitive thinking, so we often feel terrible in these places. We can't think straight, we lose focus, we feel like everything's kind of falling apart, we might feel like we're melting down. It's very distressing and very exhausting to have this happen every day. And so I've developed an 8-week program that teaches us about these brain differences and helps us bypass the limbic system, bypass that activation, as well as tips to get out of it when we're in it. So this changes everything. This is how we transform in life. I mean, if we're constantly activating that part of our brain that thinks that we're in danger, because that's the reason we have that system, then we can imagine how exhausting that is. That also shuts down the work of the immune system. We can feel incredibly tired and depleted and overwhelmed very often. And I know a lot of HSPs are probably nodding their heads right now because that's how we feel often on a daily basis. And nobody's really taught us about what we need to be at our best, to be able to thrive. So I've provided that in an 8-week program in my book and my courses. And that's entitled Brain Training for the Highly Sensitive Person, Techniques to Reduce Anxiety and Overwhelming Emotions. This program is an 8-week program, so we spend these 8 weeks developing these skills. And part of that is the ability to develop a new neural sprout that allows us to engage that part of our brain that is able to pause and reflect and then respond rather than go directly into reaction, which, I certainly was one of those people, especially in my 20s before I understood about the trait many, many years ago, that I was constantly activated and often felt disconnected from people and, just tired all the time. And it felt like there was all these things I wanted to be able to accomplish, but I just didn't have the energy and resources to do it. So that was where this all developed, was my own desire to live better as an HSP. And I just love working with my HSPs and watching the thriving that occurs when we've got the right tools and the right information. You need a lot of downtime as an HSP, and there are very specific reasons for that, for the brain processing that we need to do. You have these sort of superpowers. You have almost a sixth sense as an HSP, in terms of incredibly intuitive. You can read facial expressions that 80% of the population cannot read. There are subtle energy changes and subtle body language and facial feature changes that only an HSP can read. So this obviously gives us incredible tools, and we have a knowing, and we sort of can't imagine that other people don't have that, but they don't. And this 80%, the majority, don't have that same incredible depth ability brain-wise. And so we exist in different ways, and if we're trying to take care of ourselves in the way that the 80% is taking care of themselves, it's not going to work for us. We absolutely need, to have alone time to process, and that will help you sleep better. I know a lot of HSPs have sleep issues. So there's a lot of things that you can do, great self-care tips. Check out my other videos, check out my HSP resources page. If you're struggling and there's something inside of you, like a spark inside of you that knows that it can be better, know that it can be better. And you really can. I was somebody that, I answered true to 27 out of 27 of the HSP questions. So I really understand on a deep level how it is to be extremely sensitive and emotional. And without these tools, I wouldn't be able to do what I do and take care of my family and spread this mission that I have, this passion that I have to help other HSPs. I want this for you, and you deserve it, and we want you to thrive in the world. So take care of yourselves, learn about this trait, and you won't believe the difference it makes in your life. You can read about what some other HSPs who have taken the brain training program have, how they've learned, and how they've transformed. So it's worth it. There's lots of great resources out there, whether it's through my website, Elaine Aaron's website. Ted Zeff is another one that researches this trait and has some great books out there as well. So you take really good care of yourselves, and we will be in touch through more videos and through my social media platforms. I love talking with you guys. Take good care of yourselves.